Hello and good evening. For All Mankind, Season 1, Episode 8, Rupture is over, and it has been since December 6th of 2019, but we're just getting started here for this May the 26th, 2025, as we continue our mission to watch every episode of For All Mankind and talk all about it. I'm Dave Mader, here streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and audio versions, and we once again have our amazing control room panel here to break it all down. Coming to the man who howls at the moon, it's Kevin Millard.
Hello, Dave.
Hello. Are you the wolf man? Or no, okay, maybe not. Hey, coming in next, it's the man with the fancy 5-year-old rocket ship wallpaper. It's Jody Simpson. He's cleaning his glasses.
You know what, Dave? I'm not crying. You were crying, okay?
Okay.
This wasn't sad. I'm not crying. Go to somebody else.
All right, Jody, it's fine. It's fine. If you gotta cry, go into another room, like Karen tells Tracy. Coming in next, she's the widow herself. She's in mourning. It's Heather Narduzzi.
It's a sad day here at For All Mankind headquarters. And, you know, Jody, if you need to cry, I suggest you get a fabulous hat under which to enjoy your tears.
Yes, well, yes, he just throws his head under his baseball hat. Perfect. And coming in next, he's the man signaling something with his flannel coming to us from his nation's capital. It's Adam Woodward.
Oh, my.
I don't know if I was signaling someone with my flannel, actually. I am excited about the king being in town. I gotta say that. King Charles.
Yeah. You're breathing the same air as the king, so hey.
Yes,
he's not my king.
He is your king. Yeah, but I digress. We are talking about the 8th episode overall of For All Mankind, and spoilers if you have not watched this episode. But in this one, NASA preps a Jamestown relief mission while Karen waits for news at the hospital. We get the results of what happened to Shane, or we get the find out what happened to Shane, because at the end of the last episode, there's this cliffhanger. Shane was hit by a car. There's been some kind of accident, and that is all kind of played out here. Nice background, Jody.
You know what? One thing I can agree with Sam on.
Yes. And Sam, this is a live stream here, everyone. And Sam is saying, hey, I guess you're all wondering how Friday went. And we were, Sam. Because we knew you were meeting the Trailer Park Boys. And actually, Kevin and I had several conversations about it in anticipation. Maybe not.
How did it go?
How did it go? Tell us all about it. But we're going to get into For All Mankind here.
Better been decent.
Yes.
Anyway, that's my impression. It was terrible. Let's move on.
Okay, but we're saying spoilers here, so Shane dies.
The boy dies! There.
The boy has gone, and it's very sad. And Ed doesn't find out till the very, very end of the episode, while he's all by himself on the moon, like not even a crew member.
Well.
Yeah, he takes it really well. As well as you could, I guess. And so we're gonna get into that. There's a little bit of other stuff here with the relief mission. We see Deke and Ellen and a third crew member named Harry in a TV segment.
Standing up for the women. I like that.
Deke knows to follow the mission commanders.
Deke's a true hero.
Yeah, Deke's all good. Marge makes an appearance. We see Deke and Marge together in this episode.
I didn't know that Marge was actually Deke's wife in that first episode, because we hadn't known the characters at that point.
Yeah, they do say it, but it's the first time that these two share an episode or share a scene together, really, in all this. So Sam's giving us his Trailer Park Boys update. Good long lineup. It's got a signed box of liquor. Oh, liquor. Yeah,
that's important.
We know that song by Bubbles. And he had a professional photographer, and we'll get a pic this week. Well, congratulations.
Fun.
That all went well. Nova Scotia's own.
Even I won't sing that song on air right now.
No.
I have my line.
Yes, yes. I do want to do that at karaoke one day, but
we will.
Yeah,
sooner than later, Dave.
One day. But we're gonna get into this episode. So just get high level thoughts, Kevin. How was this one for you?
It's good. It's really emotional, and I mean the actress that plays Karen just phenomenal. Like just tears this episode up.
Yes.
She's great.
Chantel Van Santen, of course.
Yeah.
How about you, Jody? Were you sad?
I wasn't crying.
No? It was
Oh,
onions?
I wasn't. I was cooking some onions. That's true.
He was cooking onions, and that was it.
But yes, it was a sad episode, and I agree with everything Kevin said. Acting is superb in this episode. Probably the best episode she's been in. So,
Heather, you next. I wanted to get your take.
Very sad. I knew what was coming, and I still cried the second time I watched it. It was very sad and a wonderful performance by Chantel. What was her last name? Sorry,
Van Santen.
Chantel Van Santen. Excellent.
amazing.
And we'll get into it when we get to that point in the recap. But I thought Joel Kinnaman did a wonderful job as well, and I really liked the callback of him just sitting there. Oh, well, look here.
Look who's not on strike.
I was talking about that, Jeff. I was going to say I really thought it was smart, the callback of Ed having told Gordo, like when I came back from Korea, they sent me off with a bottle of booze and told me to get my head right, which is basically what we see Ed doing in the last scene, right? And also I thought he did a wonderful job when Karen's telling him. I think it was smart of them not to have any audio there and just have showing his reaction. And I thought he did a really wonderful job of choking back those tears in the way that we know the character of Ed Baldwin would. He wouldn't just straight up let himself cry in front of his wife when she's telling him this, so just really fine performances all around. Very emotional episode.
Yeah, I agree. Now, Adam, you were very, you said, don't tell me what happens with this cliffhanger. I don't want to know. And then when you came in tonight off air, you're kind of like, when is the show going to pick up again? So was this
let me
was this
frame
not
this
quite?
because this is not I agree with Kevin, Jody, Heather. I think you guys all nailed it. The acting was fantastic, and the only thing that Ed could have done better was be there for his wife, maybe. But he was hearing it for the first time. Now, guys, this is where series lose me. I'm invested right now. How many episodes are we on? Number 8.
8.
Okay. This has been so good up to episode 6 for me. Last week was okay. It was transition. Something was going to happen. This was now tough to watch, but I don't love these kind of emotional shows that get you every week. I want to get back into the space race, and I want to know what the hell's going to happen. And I'm really hoping we shift back into what we saw earlier in this season next week.
Yeah, it's been a lot of
Adam
character
wants sci-fi, not dead children.
It's hard.
I don't give me both.
I don't see a problem with dead children, but
it's not, guys.
else.
It's just it becomes a very a very heavy drama.
it is
Right.
getting very heavy.
And
I don't love those.
compared to Star Trek but hey, there was that episode where Data's daughter died, lol, and
Yeah,
and-
but a very good
Heartbreaker every time.
episode, not like a
This is an
change in
episode.
direction. Please just tell me we're going to come. Don't tell me. I'll watch.
But there is a little bit of space race stuff in this episode, so I guess we'll have to savor it, for what it's worth. And we got to move over to Jeff Mader, who we've missed for the last 2 weeks. So Jeff is
How's
coming
that
in.
gazebo doing, Jeff?
It's done.
Good.
Jeff. So
Baldwin alone on the moon after I finished it.
yes, you were just with a bottle of Chivas, going hard there. So Jeff, we missed you for Home Again, episode 6, Hi Bob, episode 7, and now episode 8, Rupture. So we're catching up with you after 3 episodes. So how's the season going for you?
Good. I mean, it's a pretty heavy show. Dead kids and everything, and
Dead kids.
brain dead. That's a new
There
term.
was only one kid dead.
Yeah, only one
Dead
So
kid.
far,
so far.
there's
There's
always
time.
hope.
There's always
Gene Kranz died too.
Gene Kranz died in the show, but not in real life. He's really alive still. But in the show, he dies. He gets vaporized by the rocket. Yes. Ted Kennedy is president now, Jeff.
Yes, I saw that.
How's your Ted Kennedy impression? Because your Nixon is impeccable.
I don't know, not very good. I can't do Ted Kennedy.
No.
You're Mary Quimby. Say chowder.
Say it, Frenchie.
Chowder. Mayor Quimby.
Say it, chowder.
What are they doing there on that moon? I don't know. I go southern. I can't do it.
That's close. That's close.
Well, he's better with Nixon. What can you say?
Oh, Nixon. It's Easton. Oh, Nixon.
Yeah. More Cold War going on here, Jeff. But yeah, like the history, of course, is diverging more and more as we go along. So now Nixon is defeated by Ted Kennedy in the election, and there's all this other stuff going on with the Ted Kennedy administration. Got some corruption, Jeff, perhaps. They got their Equal Rights Act passed, but they had to sell out some defense contracting to a crappy company in Illinois, created a bad valve, which then killed Gene Cranston and the Reds there, and then stuck Ed on the moon for like a year, basically.
By himself.
By himself.
Seems like not a good plan.
Not a good plan. As Tony Stark
What could go wrong?
What could go wrong here? A lot goes wrong. And we're gonna jump in here. Okay, well, let's get into Rupture as we begin the episode with this bee, the well bee poster here, which is a sign for a vaccination booster. Now, this episode came out in December of 2019, right before the pandemic.
Predictive programming.
Yeah, there you go. And,
I bet there were some conspiracy nuts who were like, oh my God, For All Mankind called the pandemic in episode 8 of season 1, vaccination.
Right. And there's also this is they're advertising a rocket ship here. So it's kind of, having a direct connection here to, of course, the space program and everything else. And what Ed does is we here on December 14th, 1974, Karen smoking up a storm up here in the waiting room of the hospital. We even see.
I remember when you could smoke in a waiting room in a hospital.
Yes, at Christmas, if you're not. And we see here, Karen just going hard here on the chain smoking. One of her nails falls off under her skirt here. As she knows,
as somebody who knows about nails and acrylic nails, let me tell you, to pry one off of yourself, you're really coming onto it.
She's been like fiddling with this, is basically.
Yeah, right? yeah. She ripped it off her own fingernail, basically.
Even in the 70s, Heather, like easily, probably like
they had glue in the 70s, Adam.
It was probably better in the 70s.
It was probably epoxy.
You probably had like 20 chemicals that would kill you, and
it would never come off normally.
Contact cement.
Yes, exactly.
50% lead.
See, I looked at this as foreshadowing of she losing a piece of herself.
Oh well, it's a symbolism.
Symbolism, Jody.
The minute I saw this scene, I'm like, well, kid's dead. That's exactly what I did.
I wanted to mention that as well. So, the last conversation, I didn't want to say it last week, obviously, because I've watched ahead and I didn't want to spoil, but when Ed and Karen are scolding Shane for his latest shenanigans, and Ed very formally says goodbye, Shane, at the end of it. The first time I watched her, I was like, well, he's going to die. Sure.
Sometimes I kind of pay special attention to these goodbyes now that I know are like the last time they'll see each other. Of course, I try not to reveal that to the panel here as we go. But yeah, well put. And the fact that he was kind of telling his son off the last time he told him, or talked to him, right? He was like, "You've disappointed the whole family."
Yeah, but to his credit, that's all they were doing with that kid.
That's another
telling him off all the time.
Yeah.
Which actually drove him away from the house by himself.
Yeah, he was grounded, but then Karen left, like right after she grounded him.
Did we ever find out who hit the kid?
No, it was a hit and run.
Oh, okay, yeah. So it wasn't anybody that's in the cast then.
This is a Saturday.
December 14th.
Yeah.
1974. Yeah. So we meet the doctor who is talking to Karen, and Karen, she's worried, but she doesn't know how dire this is or how
So
serious
she's
this
still
is.
angry at him.
Right.
And
she is.
and did he break his arm? Did he like?
What did he do? She's more annoyed with him that he screwed up and that he left the house when he was grounded, etc. Right? And the doctor's like, no, this is very serious. His brain is filling up with blood. He's in an operation right now, and he says, well, we have hope that he's young, that he might be able to come out of it, but the doctor's trying to say this is a very serious situation, and she has an immediate reaction, of course, but she quickly tries to put on a brave face, saying, well, you're right, doctor, he is young and he'll be fine and this is all going to work out. So the doctor's like,
I could not imagine getting a call or finding out that one of my kids was in a car accident, getting to the hospital and going, oh my God, like, what did he do? Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then
methinks you may be a better parent than Karen and Ed Baldwin.
Maybe.
I sure as shit hope so.
You didn't parent in the 70s.
That's
It was a
right.
different time.
They didn't know yet, okay?
It was the 70s. We didn't know about love and being kind to our children.
It wasn't invented yet. It won't be invented until at least 1983. And then so Karen gets brought into this other waiting room that's meant for, I guess, the more serious patients' families, which is completely empty for her, and kind of gives us like this sense of isolation and loneliness for her as we kind of finish this teaser for the episode and we go to our title card.
Well, and
Rupture.
even there, like, I see the cross on the side there, so I'm like, yeah, okay, he's definitely dead. Like, there's no way this is not gonna go this way.
The whole episode, it makes you think that. Like, you're just like,
that this is not. There's not going to be a happy ending here, and there's not.
At the very beginning, when they're first in the hospital, I'm like, okay, she's at the hospital. They're alive. He's alive, right?
Yep.
But then quickly, it's like, oh no, this isn't good.
we're gonna have a slow burn here.
By the time we got to this card, Kevin, did you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rupture is written by Nicole Beatty and directed by Mira Menon. This is the second of her 2 episodes.
Savage ladies writing and directing this episode. Really pulling at heartstrings.
They're going for it, Jeff. As we then come off of our title card and we go into the episode, an 8-track stereo cartridge. I think it's Waylon Jennings.
Hank Williams.
That's
Hank Williams. Hank Williams, Howlin' at the Moon. We find out it's Danielle who's putting the song on here for Ed over the PA system as he wakes up on the moon. Completely unaware of what's going on with Shane.
He is a werewolf.
He's a werewolf. He howls at the moon, and that's how it goes. And so now it's the job of Danielle and Gordo, basically, now that they're back on Earth, to kind of just keep Ed company and talk to him, about his mission briefings, his mental health, basically, and those kinds of things. As much as they acknowledge these kinds of things in 1974.
She wouldn't like Hank Williams. She had to bear through that.
She seems to like it, but they even have that stereo brought into NASA, Jeff. So she went out of her way for this. She's talking to Ed as Ed is getting ready for his next reconnaissance mission, making his breakfast and whatever, and looking out his window, which is just on the moon here. He's been here for over 100 days now, almost 200 days.
145 days. That's what
140.
Gordo referred to. 145.
145 days here. We see Ed showering on the moon, and I really love the special effect with the water. You can see the water kind of
they did a good job with that.
falling at the reduced gravity onto him.
I noticed that as well.
Yeah, that was cool. As it would flow a little slightly slower.
Did they explain how they got all that oxygen up there?
Well, now that they've been I think extracting some of the ice.
Well, they're
right?
extracting the ice and converting it to water.
Oxygen?
Yeah, they're splitting it into oxygen and hydrogen.
Splitting it into oxygen, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Right. So,
they also did have recyclers at this point. So realistically, even in our timeline, we had CO2 scrubbers.
Right.
So, but they still do have to eventually get the more oxygen for
It's
sure.
probably easier with one crew member up there than 3.
Oh yeah,
this going.
Well, this is
Uh,
designed for 3, right?
As Ed has to continue his reconnaissance missions up here on the moon, as he is the last line of defense in this Cold War race here with the Soviets. As they have their 2 bases here on Shackleton Crater. He's setting up his spy camera.
Personally, I think this scene should have actually been the cold open. I think they should have ended it right on the fact that it's a camera, and then just end it right there. That would have been cool.
Yeah, he aims it right at the Soviet base. I still can't say it, but it's got a bunch of Zs. And then hides the camera with rocks. This will come back later when he finds another thing hidden with rocks. As he sets it up here. And then we head down to Earth for this talk show. I don't know if this is meant to be a talk show host. I'm supposed to know or not.
I didn't recognize anything to do with them.
Did they tell us what the name of this is?
I think it's supposed to be like a local news broadcast.
I thought it looked like the match game, honestly. Like, it didn't look like an interview show. It looked like a game
But I think
show.
when they show the zoomed out shot, I think it says like channel so and so or something like that on the banner on the back there. So
yeah, this is Barry Newsom, some kind of anchorman.
that name rings a bell.
Barry Newsom. He's a talk show host. I think they just made it up for this episode.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he's talking about how Gordo and Danielle came back from the moon base. They were celebrated as heroes. But,
No,
And
Gordo
how
was
Danielle's
the hero.
accident
Gordo
means
was
all
celebrated as-
women are
yeah,
bordering
right,
idiot.
right. Yes, they were all like, Gordo flew everything.
Gordo's
did
the one
everything.
that got him back.
And this woman broke her arm like an idiot.
All
know,
this
so-
woman did was went to the moon and broke her fucking arm. That's it.
Yeah,
Didn't do anything else.
But we know better. We know that she did that to save Gordo's career.
She's
and
the
life
hero
and-
here.
Yeah, and everything else. But that has to be kind of kept under wraps, I guess. As she hears that, she
Well,
gets
then they
another
also
look.
leaned into the not Molly. Who's the one who died?
Come on,
Patty.
Patty.
Patty Boyd.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so we've
he's
got,
like, well, Danielle broke her arm, and what's her name died. Can women do anything?
Yeah, can women do anything or what?
I asked myself that same question.
Well, we need a good man up there, not a woman.
Yeah,
What?
men's bones are
And
made
I
of
like
steel.
this background looks like Price is Right.
Price
like
Right.
old
Actually-
70s Price is Right set.
No, I think Kevin's got it pretty spot on. It's a match game.
Yeah.
Just,
Right.
yeah, just a game show. It didn't look like an interview show.
Oh, you know what? I think it was the mugs that actually showed.
I guess they're
some
going for like a
sort of
Merv
logo on
Griffin
Why-
vibe here or something.
Why are they
yeah,
saying
definitely Merv Griffin type or Mike Douglas kind of talk show going on.
look how low he is sitting? Like,
it. But they're all that low.
I know, but especially the host. Like, it looks ridiculous. Like the way he's sitting. Like,
Yeah, it looks a little.
It was the
weird.
70s. We sat real low.
That's how it went, Jeff. We didn't know yet.
Yeah.
And so yeah, he's interviewing the team here. Of course, Ellen is the leader of the team now. Ellen Wilson. She's congratulated on her marriage to Larry there. Deke's there, and this new astronaut Harry Lou, or Harrison Lou, who likes to be referred to as Harry. But they're like, Deke, you were one of the original Mercury astronauts, and would you have liked a woman there with you? And it's like, would you want to take an order from a woman? And of course, Deke helped train Ellen, so she was his subordinate at one point too.
You're conflating though when he asks if women should have been there from the beginning in those original Mercury, he does not answer that question.
He does not answer that question.
Yeah.
No, he doesn't.
No.
But he does say that I always like to be on the side of the mission commander or the right side of the.
The rule is the mission commander is always right, which is another way to straight up dodge
Yeah.
the question that he was asked, rather than saying, yes, I believe women are capable and competent and should be there, which we know he does believe because he did this program, but it wasn't his choice to begin with. He was just following orders. And that's
Yeah, it
another
was.
way of saying it's the mission commander. So I'm following that.
So why
Yeah,
do you?
remember though, this is funny though because Deke was given the opportunity to can the program, and
That's
he's
true.
the one that kept it going.
Right. Good point. So why do you think he dodges the question then?
Because he's talking to a sexist man about it.
Okay. And he's afraid of hurting his feelings or something?
No,
Not necessarily afraid of hurting his feelings, but I think that then takes the onus off him to be like, yes, I believe women should do this. And maybe he didn't want to straight up come out and say that. So he said, well, I'm just following rules. And then he doesn't have to come out as a feminist, which is a hard stance to take in the 70s when you're being questioned like this.
So he'd rather not be
I
controversial.
also think this character is not a liar, and I don't think he would say that he thought that women should have been there from the beginning, because he didn't.
That's true. He had to come around. He had to come around on that a bit. We meet Harrison, who also referred to as Harry, and he gives that the more like, of course I believe women can be astronauts in the mission commander. I have all the respect for Ellen and etc. So he gives that more standard answer that we were hoping maybe Deke would give, but Deke, Deke's good at Deke. As we go along here, and we see back here in the NASA like astronauts break room or whatever. They then go over to talk about the next limb docking. We have Ellen's team here, and we see the backup team for them at the back of the room. 3 white guys who are not impressed.
Who are like, hey, remember when there was no DEI at NASA and we got all the jobs? This new shit sucks, y'all.
Yeah.
I love exactly what they say. Do you you remember when this was based on merit and not the color of your skin or what was between your legs? Which is hilarious, because up until this point, it was all based on the color of your skin and what was between your legs.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Only now it's new parameters.
Right.
Yeah, these 3 guys at the back here. Yeah, they're this is the anti-DEI thing. It felt pretty relevant to today. Considering this was
I don't know. They don't look like the right stuff to me, to be honest.
No, I don't even know. We've never seen these 3 astronauts before this episode, I don't think. But they're the backup crew. One guy says, "We're backing up a senior citizen, a woman, and a Korean." But our buddy here, the guy who Bill says no. Harry is Chinese, and they go even worse or even better or something like that. Not Korean. So there's a bit of like that resentment building up here. Then we go over here to a scene with the psychiatrist and Gordo, where he's talking about, everything that happened to him on the moon. And he's talking to things, his relationship difficulties with Tracy. The psychiatrist trying to dig at what happened to you up on the moon. But Gordo's pretty reluctant to talk about any of it. Even the stuff with Tracy, he's pretty vague about it. He's like, she sends me to this apartment, but I don't understand, and I don't know what's going on. And he's mostly confused and a little broken, I would say.
And the psychiatrist says, well, does she want a divorce? And he goes, oh, no, nothing like that.
Nothing like
Because
that.
There's such a stigma attached to that,
I think he's also probably dealing with the guilt of being labeled as hero and everything else. But when he knows the truth that he's not, and that Danielle's the one who should be the hero. But
I don't know how much he struggles with that.
Maybe not.
This guy, I don't know.
I think he's appreciative at least, but I don't know. Like, just they keep looking at this magazine. It's got Heroes Return all over it, right? And they keep focusing on that in the scene. So that's why I kind of drew that conclusion.
I think that, when you look at him, if you flip back to earlier episodes and you see how cocky and sure of himself he was versus now where he looks just so broken.
Yeah, and down.
He's put on weight now. His hair is longer. He just doesn't have that assuredness.
Right. He's having a reckoning, I would say, Gordo. And the psychiatrist tries to press him, but he ends up not really opening up fully, kind of just looking off here into the distance and kind of internalizing it, a lot of it.
It is only session
Before,
number
can you
one.
just go back one shot there with the
Sure.
okay. Unrelated to the content of the program, can we just admire the absolutely bonkers macrame plant hanger on the left-hand side of this behind the psychiatrist? Like, that is amazing. Macrame. Get it, 70s decor. It's so cool. Adam, do you remember a lot of that in the
My
70s?
mother went to classes at the art center to make macrame potholders.
I love it.
Those
I've
were
never heard that
all
word
over
before.
my grandmother's house.
Yeah.
Macrame? Okay.
Macrame, yeah.
Macrame.
Jeff, do you know about this?
No.
Okay. Us 80s
That's
kids
because
don't
there are two 80s babies. They don't know about the macrame.
I'm an 80 now.
know. No, we don't know.
I'm right on. Right at the end.
Anyway,
And
carry on.
they put the wood like pellets or whatever, or
Yeah.
in there. Oh
Beads.
my god!
Yeah.
Pardon?
Wood beads.
It would
Wood
be
beads. Yeah.
We then head over to the Aleda's home, right, where Aleda's father and aunt here are watching TV, and Aleda's doing homework with a fellow student from her school. This boyfriend.
She's holding hands and smooching.
Yeah,
This
they're
is
playing
not good news.
They're playing footsies, or maybe I don't know. They'll show us footsies, but I'm assuming footsies are happening, and hands are being held, all in the the view of her father and family, who are not very impressed by this. They're being pretty traditional, I think, types. But Aleda's very smitten for her boyfriend here, as her father then heads over to get something from the fridge. They stop holding hands. They're fooling him, as they go back to their homework here. The father looking on, and just setting all that up. Then we go to the Stevens home, where Tracy is working on her popcorn ornaments. She does every year. She's well known for it. Gordo greets her, but she's pissed at Gordo. She thinks he's been fooling around with another woman. She doesn't know where he was. She called JSC. He wasn't there. She's can't account for his whereabouts, so she assumes he's having some kind of an affair.
And he's like, "Why are you calling to check up on me?" Because you're a lying, philandering cheater, Gordo. I don't know. Maybe you've given me lots of reasons not to trust you, perhaps.
Perhaps.
But this time he wasn't running around. He was seeing a psychiatrist, which seemed to shock her just as much as if he had been actually running around.
Yeah.
Was it a woman psychiatrist?
Yeah, she's
No.
like a woman Yeah, is that what she's called now? A psychiatrist.
Oh, you're screwing a doctor now. How nice.
He's like, no, it's a guy. And she's like, well, what are you talking about? You're a guy.
Would have been funny if she was like, "So you're screwing guys now?"
But he hands her the card, which she seems to accept as legitimate proof.
Indelible proof that you're not cheating. You have a business card.
Now, as the audience, we know he's telling the truth,
Yes.
But, Tracy...
We don't know what he did between the psychiatrist's office and home.
Yeah.
True. It's not spelled that out for us, but I think...
But
we can
what's
make an
in,
assumption.
again, lack of understanding of what's going on. But I mean, so Gordo's got the courage to go and seek therapy. And
But-
she's like, why wouldn't you just talk to me? Like, what happened?
And she also mentions that he could get kicked out of NASA just for seeing a psychiatrist.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That this is not necessarily something that would be well received by the public or by the space program or anybody. So she's concerned on that front too. And for him to go to therapy does signal, that there's something majorly wrong here. So she tries to talk to him and reach him here, as the anger has worn off, I guess. And
she's the second person this episode to look intently at him and ask, what happened up there, Gordo? And he won't tell either of them.
Yeah, he still hasn't told her clearly about
Mm-hmm.
it. She has no idea, and
Space madness.
It's space madness. Yeah, she's worried about it, but then the phone rings in the middle of all this, and so she goes to get the phone, and it's Karen, who's of course telling Tracy about Shane. So Tracy says, "Okay, I'll be right there," and she's, she tells Gordo, "I gotta go," and meet Karen. Shane's been in an accident, so they're obviously worried. We head back to the moon here, where Ed's still spying on the Russians, talking to his, the guy. So there's, what's his name? I always forget his name. Wisner.
Mm-hmm.
Wisner and the general Jeff, who work for Ted Kennedy, and they say, "What, what's going on up there? You're our first line of defense in this Cold War. We need you to amp up your surveillance of the Russians."
Who's playing the general?
The general?
He seemed familiar. I don't know why I know him.
Who's starring? I don't know.
I recognized him. I'm like, I know this guy from something.
I don't.
Anyway,
Yeah.
the Ted Kennedy guys seem a little bit different than the Nixon guys.
Yeah, he's like, so we had Thomas Paine was Nixon's guy, and now we have this other guy, Wisner, who's Ted Kennedy's guy, who's got a very similar vibe, but he's he's even more like sneaky, I'd say, and like more I don't know, he's just incredibly loyal to the president. That's his main.
I think they
objective.
both were incredibly loyal to their presidents, but they have a different vibe. Like the Republican guy is more like worried about like image, and I feel like the Kennedy guy is more worried about like what are we gonna do when we don't want to like set off a set of escalations, That's
Right.
kind of
Well, it's also a very different time, right? I mean, like the Nixon guy was like worried about just getting to the moon.
right.
Yeah, they're in a different scenario here, and then we get Jeff this whole, Ted Kennedy kind of Nixon tape style recording, where how long that guy been stuck up there talking about,
And he says it's making me look like a limp dick here.
yeah.
My dick, it's limp.
Is this what made Ted Kennedy look like he has a limp dick?
Look, I know my brother
Well,
there
first it was
had
the
sex with
Olympic.
lots of girls there, and but I don't want to be the limpest dick of all the Kennedys.
Well,
Can't be
Yeah.
the exist.
you might be, but they say,
Who's
Mr.
this
President.
guy behind him? That's my question.
So is it Art Garfunkel? Like,
Art Garfunkel was in the administration.
Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah, Napoleon. What's he doing?
vote
there?
for Pedro.
Gosh.
But they say there's a silver lining here, Mr. President Ted Kennedy. It's taking attention off the Florida situation. And he says, of course, that's a benefit. And we see the cover of the National Inquisitor talking about sex scandal overwhelms the Kennedy administration. I guess this is the Florida thing that they're referring to. President seen as compromised morally and politically. And
Ted-
the first...
I gotta say something about Ted Kennedy. He did not have the look that his brothers had. Just did not.
But he was never president.
There's a reason. He just doesn't have the look.
He was the milkman's kid. Move on.
Yeah.
He's clearly related, I think.
Well, he's definitely related. It's just he just doesn't like. They got all the good genes. The other two brothers got the good genes.
Was this what, Ted Kennedy's the fourth brother in that family.
Yeah.
You should see
Well, all the other
Patrick Kennedy
brothers are Schwarzenegger, and then Ted Kennedy is like the Danny DeVito.
Yeah.
Well, Schwarzenegger is actually married into this family as well.
That's right.
Like just this magazine cover and some of the other like things, and they're showing him in the Oval Office as if he was president, and I'm just like, I don't buy it. Like I just don't. Like I just look at it, and I go, this would not have happened. Just the American people, I think, just would have went no.
But you think like you couldn't see like Ted Kennedy being Nixon in an election like 10 years after his brother had defeated
Oh yeah,
Nixon?
he probably would have. Yeah, you probably like I'm not saying I just like and seeing him as president, I'm just like it's like it just doesn't like I get why he didn't become president. It's, I know it wasn't just because of like the whole car crash thing and stuff, but like it's
That was a
also
big
like,
thing.
his appeal and like the way he came across. Like he ran in like what wasn't it 1980? He tried to become president too, like and in 76, right?
Yeah, he ran several times, but he could never really get his primary going very far. But you gotta remember, like, so he doesn't in this timeline. He doesn't have that scandal where the woman dies, right? In
Yeah.
the car crash.
Yeah.
And coming
No,
off of
in this timeline, he's cheating with the same woman that he killed in a car crash in our actual.
yeah, he's
life.
cheat, but she's not dead. right? And that's a big distinction.
But she is screwing him, so that's kind of the same thing.
But both his brothers are
it's
still
not.
Right?
What?
I don't know.
What did you say?
Sorry,
What?
both his brothers were killed, right?
Yeah. That still happened here. You know, Jack Kennedy's assassinated, Robert Kennedy's assassinated, and then he could have picked up his brother's, I guess, like sort of mantle theoretically, even though he's.
I think what would have happened is he would have been assassinated too. That's what
could have been, yeah. But that we'll see. Anyway, so Karen's looking at that National Inquisitor here in the hospital as we transition back to that storyline. I think she's seen some babies come out here, and she's thinking about her own child. Tracy meets her here at the hospital to console her, and Tracy's really there for her as a friend throughout this episode, starting with this moment.
I don't think she's just there for her as a friend. I thought she was just there for her because she's a good person. Like that's how I felt the whole episode. I'm like, she's just like there for her because there's no one else to be there for her. You know what I mean? Like I felt she felt really bad for her the whole episode.
Well, I think she does, but I think like these two are close. I think
also their sons are best friends, so there would be those emotions wrapped up in it. And
Karen's kind of raising her like Tracy's son too.
Yeah. And I noted in the last couple of episodes, like as we know, Karen was really huffy and weird and almost jealous when the women got into the space program, and she was shitty to Tracy about it. But especially in the episode where we see Tracy come home and Karen keeps the boys for Pinewood Derby and all of that stuff, like we see that her attitude towards it is softened into supporting Tracy a lot more. And we see that in this episode as well, where she says, you're going to the moon, Tracy, it's your dream. Like, don't miss out on your Sims. And Tracy says, no, I'm staying. So I think maybe it's not really shown, but I think maybe they worked out that distance in their relationship and they're closer now is what it seems like to me.
Seems like they got past some of their, like, whether they talked it out or not, it seems like, that some of that passive aggressiveness that Karen showed Tracy, years prior to this has kind of coming past a little bit, and that these two, like the Baldwins and the Stevens families are very tight.
Very tight. And also if you're friends with somebody and you have like a few petty disagreements and then something awful happens to their family, you're not worried about your petty disagreements. You're going to be there for your friend and support them, hopefully.
And Tracy's here for her, brings her a change of clothes and like her phone book, and then Karen starts making calls. She said, I won't be at the bake sale. I got to call Marge and let her know. And Tracy's like, yeah, we know you won't be at the bake sale. We get it. But we go back to Ed on the moon here, who heads down to Shackleton Crater into the U.S.'s, I guess, mining operations down here at the bottom of the crater.
This all looked really cool, on the edge of the crater and then lowering down and all of that. Very neat.
Yeah, just so scary to go down there by yourself, and there's no one to come and save you if everything goes off here. So Ed's, he's starting to drill some holes into the moon rock here with his fancy space drill. And as he's kind of going about his business, he ends up shining the light because he drops the drill, right? He drops the drill here at 1 second, and then he inadvertently ends up shining the light specifically on this one part of the cave or the cavern where he notices something that doesn't seem right. He notices a bunch of boulders that have been put there, just kind of like how he put his boulders around the camera earlier in the episode. So he goes to investigate it, and he pulls the different rocks off, and he finds this, whatever it is, surveillance device of some kind that presumably the Soviets have put here. So they've come down here, and Ed is, what the hell is this? Get me NASA command. So he gets to that general and that Wisner guy back on here, and he's like, I've never seen anything like it. They are surveilling our things, and Wisner is all cautious. He wants to talk to the president first so they can decide what to do. And the general is like, no, we need to destroy this thing and get out of here. But Wisner ended up having, he has more authority here, so he overrules the general and Ed. saying, don't touch that thing. Don't tamper with it until we can decide how we're going to handle this politically. Ed being the soldier, the military man, is more in line with the general, but Wisner being the coming to more from a civilian, I guess, point of view, diplomatic point of view, is going to kind of go more about this. But the general, I think, does tell him to step up his efforts. Anything else I missed in this particular section? No, that's good.
I just love how paranoid they are of the Russians, even though the Russians have done nothing.
Well, the Russians are equally as paranoid.
Yeah. Both sides are distrust each other, right? And that's kind of like the whole nature of the Cold War. The whole thing with the Cold War has been always interesting to me because you have these two great allies in the U.S. and the USSR who defeat Nazi Germany together in World War II, and then immediately become adversaries, because they don't trust each other, and then this has been going on at this point for 30 years or so. Right. And I guess this idea of we can't let the other side be the superpower or be the sole superpower. Anyway, so then we end up going back to the hospital. Karen's sleeping here in the lounge. Tracy brings her a drink. They have a little bit of dialogue here, not remembering exactly what it is, but the doctor then shows up to give his news. He's like, normally I want to speak to both parents, but because Ed Baldwin's on the moon, he delivers this news here with Karen and Tracy, where he effectively explains to them that Shane is brain dead. And this is a new term. In 1974, this wouldn't have been as common. It was somewhat.
They just started talking about it in 1968 as a condition. So. Right.
So this is only 6 years into it, and Karen doesn't understand it. But the doctor says, well, he's not coming back. He's alive with machines, but he won't live without the ventilators and things like that. And it hits Karen very hard. And she eventually, I think, she has this moment of like introspection, but then she says, I want a second opinion, and I don't believe what you're saying. And the denial and the stages of grief are really kicking in here. So the doctor is kind of sent packing
here, and later for her when they do get the second opinion. I like how they just have the sound go muffled and she just hears like a ring, like tinnitus. I find that a really effective way to illustrate. I've certainly felt that way before. I don't know if any of you have, but when you're just like, you can't comprehend what's happening. Everything just kind of feels like cotton in your ears. And so I thought that was very effective. And they just zoomed in on her face and had everything kind of close in on her,
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I can relate to that. And props to Tracy. Tracy's just like, you're right, Karen. We do need a second opinion, and
she's gonna get hit if she.
Yeah, she plays it perfect, I guess, as much as you can in this situation. Call Deke. Deke knows the best neurologist in the country. She'll get him here, so they're gonna pull out all the stops, right? So Tracy gets on the phone with Deke. And then Karen goes to look at Shane in his hospital room here, just to sit with him and hug him and, kind of more come to this idea that he could very well be dead now and that she has this news, but she hasn't accepted it fully yet either. We go over to Margot's office. Margot, now flight director, of course, after she blackmailed Wisner there. With her manifesto, and they're talking with Deke, Wisner, and Buzz Aldrin, the head of the astronaut program office, to talk about should they tell Ed or not. And the only one who wants to tell Ed is Deke. Margot and the rest don't want to, and there's kind of this debate. Ed's on the moon by himself. Buzz Aldrin says, I wouldn't want to know if I was up there and something had happened with one of my kids. But Margot, I guess, has the wisdom to say, has anyone asked Karen what she thinks and how she wants to handle it?
Why it's nice to have a woman in this role, because she thinks beyond the guys. The guys are just like bury their heads, don't want to deal with it. Actually, Deke did, but
Yeah, because when Margot suggests this, like they look at each other like, "What? We never
What?
thought of that." You know, I don't. You know, I guess that's the right way to go. Like, leave it up to Karen because it's a family decision. But
What does this panel think? What do you do?
Well, I guess that there's two schools of thought. If you're Ed or if you're everybody else. You know, well, would you want to be told or would you not want to be told, I guess? Or, you know, like
I would want to be told. But what do you do
Right.
with someone like Ed could really die because of this news?
right.
Because he's on the moon. So what do you do? It's a really interesting question whether to tell him or not.
I lean more toward Deke, and you have to tell him. Like
I do too.
I see the quandary here, the conundrum. However, what they didn't anticipate was the containing it. Whether it's media or whether like somebody else is going to find it, and you do not want Ed finding out the way he found out.
No.
Yeah, the Russians first to the
Russians-
news as well, not just to the moon, but first to
give them the news. Yeah, they like to be first. Yeah.
But this is the thing. I agree with their decision to honor whatever Karen's wishes are.
Of course.
But as if I were Karen, as soon as that reporter was in the hospital trying to ask me questions, I would tell him because I would know there was no way he wouldn't find out.
Right.
Right. And I would rather tell him.
My only question here too is like, would it be like if Gordo and Danielle were still up there with Ed, would the decision be different? Would you to tell him like would
I think so. I think that you could, because just right, you got a guy by himself who could die, or maybe it was Kevin said it. Like if he does something wrong now, he's got his mind somewhere else. He's not putting a pipe or a hose in the right place on his body if he's going on a walk. Like things are bad, and they kind of need him. I think they need him to land the next crew.
They need him to fight the Soviets.
Yeah.
He's the last line of defense, against their spy stuff. Yeah. Anyway,
those extremely considerate Soviets.
Yeah, very considerate. For the
Would
comrades.
the Soviets tell their astronaut?
Oh, for sure.
Probably not. They're very. I think the Soviets are. They were like, no, we're not telling you.
I think our interpretation, our view of like the Soviet way or the, would be like, no, they're heartless. They would never, I think they would. I think they would tell, I just think eventually you have to, it's going to be so much worse if you put it off. He comes home like a month later or whatever, whenever he's destined to come back and then you drop that on him, he's going to be so mad. And I guess, the mission was done. Who cares, But it's just like, I don't know. I just don't think it's the humane thing to do, right? Like, it's just, I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's
they
not.
Get Martian. They don't
I think,
tell them that he's dead or that he's alive. Sorry, and then they find out like months later, and they're like, "I gotta turn the whole boat around and go back and get him." Like that's what happens in the
Martian. Yeah, the Matt Damon movie. You mean? Yeah.
Yeah, the Matt Damon movie. Yeah.
Right. Well, Deke goes to talk to Karen, and Deke is really trying to convince Karen we should tell Ed, but they Deke knows that Karen has this final call here, and
this scene was painful because the whole time Deke's just like, like he's dead, like he knows. Deke knows the kid's dead,
right?
Like,
but they're trying their best here with Karen, and under the circumstances. And a couple times Deke looks over to Tracy and Marge and goes, "Okay, I guess this is kind of
he's like,
we're not going to work.
What I wanted here.
Just get Deke's like, I'll get you the doctor. He's coming to do his examination, and just a lot just done on this actor's face who plays Deke. To the gravity situation, and so he eventually says, "Okay, Karen, everything's gonna be fine. I won't tell him." And there's this hug here with Tracy and Karen, where Marge and Deke then head out of the hospital. And like I said, this is the first time they ever share a scene together. Adam didn't even realize they were married, but yes, they are. And she says, puts his astronaut pin on him, and so happy he's going up into space. And wishes him well and says, go go to the moon and all that, right? Am I
You,
missing
you know
anything?
what else I think that's becoming a reality for these guys is now they're also realizing they don't only have to worry about what goes up on the moon or on the space station or the moon station. It's like what happens now with their families. Like having a family is not ideal because you got all the drama. Like even Danny with her husband who was, having through all his post-traumatic stress from Vietnam. You got this now. It's the mental stress that's worse than the equipment or the conditions. It's amazing.
Yeah, well, these and this is kind of true in Star Trek too, where people like these emotional relationships between the people, the characters that we watch, sometimes are much bigger than the story and what the mission is and everything else, right? Like those are the things that really end up mattering. The friendship between Kirk and Spock.
This was an episode of House tonight, or like not even like ER, or like this was a medical drama episode tonight. Like this was very little.
Exactly. This is going the wrong way, Jeff.
Yeah.
I love medical dramas. Maybe that's why it works better for me. Anyway, so then we have a scene here with Aleda who goes to see Margot in her office. She apologizes for being late. Talked about how she had to run all the way because she missed her bus or something like that. And she asks Aleda about her necklace and about the hickey on her neck. And the fact that Aleda's got the boyfriend now. I think this is
her name. What's her name? Sorry.
Aleda?
Aleda? With a D?
Yeah.
Aleda,
Mhm.
yeah.
Aleda. Okay. Not Aleda.
Aleida. Aleda.
Aleda Rosales. And she's kind of saying to Aleda, like, you want to be the best. You can't. Well, I don't think she says it at this part of the scene, but, that you don't have time for boys. You got to be the best.
Couldn't they have introduced this character in this episode? Did we need all those other scenes?
Yes.
We needed them? Okay. All right.
We needed it. Well, they're setting up character development, and I don't know. Like, I know you were like, "Why are we watching this whole other thing?" But
I just didn't need like 10 scenes with her dad. Like, I get it. Like, like.
But the character is gonna go on beyond this.
I
right?
get
So-
that. I understand that. Is her dad going to be in a lot of stuff later?
No.
Okay. All right.
Anyway, so Margot gives Aleda a letter from the Kennedy Math and Science program, and she found out she's been accepted on 2 advanced tracks. Aleda. Who said that?
I wanted to see if that worked.
It did.
That was my grandmother's name.
Aleda was
Yeah.
your grandmother's name.
I wanted to make sure we were saying it correctly, so I looked up her pronunciation.
They called her Alida, so a little different.
Aleda. Okay, but spelled the same.
Yeah.
So she's all happy and she's got into the program, but then Margot says, "Well, you're gonna have to start soon, the first of the year." And Aleda's not too excited to be leaving her friends and her school, but more in particular, I think her boyfriend. She doesn't want to have to like leave him and go to the other side of Houston for this and whatever. And then Margot gets kind of cross with her and says, "Well, if you don't care, then you're never gonna make it. You can't be late for things. You have to be 10 times. You have to work 10 times harder than the men. You have to be early for everything. You can never be late." And kind of gives her the whole speech, lecture, whatever you want to say here.
And Aleda's like, or I could wear my boyfriend's varsity ring and make out and get hickeys. So,
Or math and science.
Didn't
But
she cross a border to come do this? Like, didn't she?
They
I
didn't
just
legally
understand why
enter.
sacrifice is a lesson that this girl needs to learn. Like, it just seems like she's already been doing that.
Yeah, like her family is making, doing whatever they can to survive in America,
Right.
And make ends meet. But I don't know. Margot's got a bit of a high and mighty complex. Let's be real about it.
Well, yes, that's
I think probably Margot's like, I did it, so if why don't you do it?
Right.
mhm.
And that was Margot's life. Doesn't have to be Aleda's life, but Margot's, she's trying to shape Aleda into her little protege, of course. And so, Aleda says hi to her father when she comes home. She hides the letter under her blankets here as she then goes off to dinner. And she gets a phone call from her boyfriend. And she's super happy to talk to her boyfriend on the phone. And I think that's where we leave Aleda in this episode. I don't think we come back to her again this episode.
No, I don't think so.
So they're sprinkling her story along, much maybe frustrating Jeff a bit. But
this character, I just want something to happen.
it will give it 2 seasons.
Next,
Okay.
next couple seasons.
Anyway, back to the hospital. Karen is kind of just making her way down, and then this guy comes up to her and starts asking her about her son. He identified himself as from being in front of the Houston newspapers, I think, if I'm correct.
The Sentinel, I
The
believe.
Houston Sentinel. And Tracy just puts out her butt, and she comes right at him, and she's like, "You're out of here, you pariah, you leech," whatever she calls him.
I love that she physically turns him around by the shoulders and
Yeah.
shoves him out of there.
Yeah,
And she does it with a turtleneck on.
That's
Yeah.
right.
That's badass.
It is.
Steve Jobs wouldn't have did that.
She consoles him. She's the great defender here. Tracy is the other. We see some other wives have also gathered here to support Karen and the Baldwins.
She basically stepped in as Ed.
Right, and now they're kind of dealing with now the press knows. This is kind of a whole new factor. What do we do with it, right? And I think this is the time where you probably do have to tell Ed. And I think this is where Marge says, "Okay, it's time for you to have your call with Ed. They have a certain schedule that this is coming up right now." And and Karen just says, "Okay, she says I'm not going to tell him, and if I don't go to the call, he's going to know something's up." So but I think this is probably the time especially with that press thing being part of the mix, is you definitely should. So she ends up having this call with Ed, and he's asking about Shane's basketball game and what happened and who won, and Karen's doing sort of her best to fake her way through the call. But clearly he's distracted. Clearly he's not focused on here. Ed a couple times says, "Are you okay? What's going on?" But
this is a heartbreaking scene because when she's when she's making up the story, it's all her just reminiscing about her son and it's absolutely heartbreaking.
It's a tough one. It's a tearjerker for sure.
But it's also the other side of Karen, and you see it at the end of the episode when she starts planning the funeral, where she goes into this psycho kind of I got to get over this mode, and
just focus. I remember after our grandfather died, Jeff, Grampy, right? And I woke up at 4 a.m. and Mom is coming in and tearing my room apart. I go, "What are you doing?" She's like, "Grampy died last night. We have to go to the funeral right now," know. And she just went into this sort of driven, focused mode, right?
Yeah.
And that's what Karen does a lot here. That's how she copes with stress. And it just by focusing on the next task, I think, effectively.
Yeah, that's all you can control, I guess, is the mindset, right? This is all I can do, so that's what I'm gonna do, right? Type thing. But I think most normal people are like Tracy, where it's just take a minute, give yourself a moment.
Allow yourself, but that's not the way Karen and Ed, I think, have operated.
Karen rolls, right? And then a lot of people don't, right? In that moment, right? I guess you don't know until you're in it, right? And then,
and these guys are used to being able to, they can essentially make their own reality. That's what they're doing essentially, is just this is exactly how everything is, and that's it. And now this tradition has been broken, and she can't control anything now. She's got no control, which is something she had tons of. Everything in life was being controlled by her, by the looks of it, as well as him.
And how much time was spent because of her son, whether it be driving him to practices or going to practices or PTA, that's all gone now.
And now it's a reality that she's all alone, truly, because
she doesn't have anybody now because the other guy's in the moon.
Yeah, and she doesn't have her son, so it's who she got? Tracy? That sucks. That's the way she probably looks at it.
Well, Tracy's off to the moon pretty soon herself.
Exactly.
So
then who she left with? Gordo?
Yeah, Tracy's about to leave. Gordo's probably not going to be the best help.
Gordo's already been there, dude. Come on.
Now, this is an absolute heartbreaker right here, where she says, "Have I done something unforgivable?"
Yeah. Karen's driving home. She asks that to Tracy, and does Tracy give an answer? I don't know.
Why is Karen allowed to drive?
So.
Yeah, that's a dumb. That's 1974 though for you. That's
Knowing
like,
Karen,
why-
she's
why
Probably
is
also
Karen
drunk.
able-
It's fine. It's the 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
We don't know yet.
We didn't have
So-
seatbelts, and everybody was a drunk driver. It worked out great.
Right, but that we see that this news has hit the American media. Baldwin's son in hospital. Even Baba Wawa knows, and it's spreading out here. Margot gives this whole speech to the NASA Control Center, like, okay, we talk to Ed every day, but we can't tell him anything here. We've decided we're not telling him, and we see here Danielle and Gordo having their little conference here talking about this, and then Margot calls them out. Do you have something you want to share with the class? And they say, yeah, we don't like this. We don't like having to lie to Ed. This is not right, you know?
Can you go back one screen? I found typos. 15 and 16 should be cryo, not Cyro.
Up here?
Oh yeah.
Two.
Yeah, see that? I love
Cy-
finding a typo.
Cyro.
That's two of them.
Way to go.
Well,
And
Maybe they have
also,
another
I want to
system called
say Margot looks awesome in this hunter green pantsuit. She means business.
She does. And Margot puts Gordo and Danielle sort of in their place, saying, well, you want to be all high money, but this is what his wife wants. This is what, and Gordo's like, Karen wants this? All right, well, and Gordo has no real retort to any of that.
Their demeanors change when she said
no, he
Yeah.
found out that
Karen's wishes.
Karen's like for this. He's like, ah, shit, I can't fight this one then.
Yeah, he kind of
Yeah.
gives up right there. But he was not too cool with it either, heading
No.
into it.
I don't think Margot is either, really. Like,
No, like I don't think any of them want like this,
Yeah.
but like it is what it is. So they're all trying to deal with it. And then we see here Ed, who's doing his little rowing machine up on the moon, getting his exercise. Something comes through the dot matrix printer, I guess the fax machine here on the moon. I gotta love those that style, and it's from the
This
Russians.
is so unrealistic because anybody who owned one of these knows that you wouldn't even get a whole page out before it started scraping.
I used to have one of these printers. I remember these things.
Me too.
Deepest sympathies about your son from the Soviets sent over here, and so Ed calls up Gordo to say, "What is? I got this message from the Soviets saying deepest condolences about your son. What the hell are they talking about?" And and Ed's kind of getting really upset here, and Gordo has to kind of not tell him the truth, kind of has to go along with this.
So NASA has no firewall for this. Like,
Apparently, yeah.
hey,
It's
people
not-
can just hack into their data streams and just send shit to the space station.
Something-
Like, that's
Do you think
Right.
did the Soviets do that to be dicks, or did they just
No,
not even-
I think they
Did
actually
they-
mean to be kind here, but because they
Right,
don't
but-
know that Ed doesn't know.
I don't think it's from the Soviets. I think it's from the other astronauts. On
I agree.
the moon.
I agree.
Well, they're
Right.
Soviets. But-
I agree
So-
with you. That's probably who it's from,
Yeah.
but it's also like wouldn't like if it was the other way around, like would Baldwin just send a message over to them, or would he kind of like I don't know? Wouldn't there be some sort of back channel communication
Oh,
about?
he's
this?
gonna
Like,
send a message, Jeff. Don't you wait. He's gonna get out his little pickaxe or whatever. He wondered. So because Gordo's not corroborating this or not telling him the truth, Ed thinks that the Soviets, the Russian astronauts, cosmonauts, whatever, they're messing with him somehow. That this is some kind of psychological warfare. Yeah, this is part here where Gordo just has to look up at Margot and go, "What the hell? Like, what the hell did I just have to do?" Right?
why do you look like a Christmas tree?
It's Christmas time.
The- Hunter Green pantsuit. You can't mess with that.
Listen, you don't know about fashion, Jody. This is 70s fashion, power suits, serving flight director Margot Madison.
Yeah, absolutely. It
Here's
beats,
my pants. It matches the console.
She didn't get that pantsuit by playing hickey with her boyfriend. All right.
That's right. She bought her
That's
own
why she's
pantsuit.
wearing a green pantsuit now.
It's not as good as the brown pants and brown tie that Gordo's got, I guess. But anyway, Ed is pissed. He's not too happy about all this, and then we go over here to a scene with Karen. She's getting a coffee.
I wish coffee cups came with that little handle still.
Yeah, that little handle that, these coffee machines don't really, I guess they kind of exist still.
I'm
right?
sure
But-
this still exists somewhere, but I don't see
Yeah,
them.
you don't see them as commonly anymore. Anyway, she's very out of it. She's kind of unfocused. We're kind of cutting in between the scene of her in the hospital and Ed up on the moon, who Ed decides to go find that surveillance device that he found earlier that he was ordered not to mess with. Meanwhile, Karen is approaching the family waiting room, and she sees this other doctor here, who is the neurologist they brought in, the specialist, and this kind of look of fear and shock on her as she's heading over. And the doctor reveals the news. He's like, "I've examined your son, and there's nothing I can do." Basically,
that's the news because you see as soon as she starts to walk up, Tracy walks away and does not look at her.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like the doctor gave Marge and Tracy the wives that news first, and then
He
Karen-
definitely did, because when she walks in and you see them all standing together and they look up at her, everybody knows at that.
Well, look at Marge.
Yeah.
Like she's got her mouth on her mouth covered, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, and then Ed, who doesn't know yet, but he's finding that Soviet device, pulls it out of the cavern here, and pulls out his little
So
pickaxe.
correct me if I'm wrong though, but earlier in the episode, he's like, I don't really know what it is, but it's probably a communications device.
Mhm.
Well, if you don't know what it is, why would you take a pickaxe to it? Like it could be compressed gas or something.
Because he's
And you could be
pissed.
shot
Doing
off the
some-
goddamn moon.
He's
Yep,
doing therapeutic smashing, Jody. Okay. It's
Rage
validated.
I'm totally
already-
for that.
They already killed a kid in this show. I thought they were going to kill him right there, and she was going to be left with no one.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah. I was at that point too.
Yeah, well, Ed starts whamming on this thing with his little prospector tool or whatever it is, and rock hammer.
That could have been a prototype device to be able to like convert, ice to oxygen or something.
Whatever it was, Ed
It's
doesn't
gone
like it.
now.
Gone now.
He could have went up like a Roman candle, man. That was
He
such a
didn't care.
bad move.
Don't fax him about his son.
I
He's
never
not good.
understood this trope though. Like, I mean, I get it. This is his character, but why is it always I gotta break some shit? I'm angry. I gotta break shit.
It's Ed
Toxic
Baldwin rules.
masculinity is why.
Right. Why can't they ever just
in the
be
90s?
sad? Like I think 90% of people would just be sad, not angry and like God.
Well, he doesn't know about his son yet. He thinks
yet.
the Russians are fucking with him.
Oh right, okay, sorry. Yeah.
And he's all been alone, and he's had a rough time here on the moon. Remember, and everything
Right.
else.
And we've noticed that Ed Baldwin is not like super in touch with his emotions.
No, it is his
So
character
I would say
anyway.
most of them manifest as anger.
How dare you, Heather? This man is just an emotional magnet.
yeah, he's
Yeah, when he lost
He's-
Patty, he
He's
was
so
ripping
supportive
his
of
clothes
his
off.
son and
He-
everything.
oh, yeah.
Like in Inside Out, Lewis Black plays anger. That's basically Ed Baldwin, right? Like he's
Yeah.
just like
Yes.
always just
More or
pissed
less.
off. More
Yeah.
or less. That's his character.
Anyway, so the sad part is Karen then, now has this news that there's no hope for Shane. She goes to his hospital room and then she shuts the blinds, and we don't see the rest of it, but we hear her crying and sobbing. It's very
This
sad.
was so
Do you think she pillows him?
sad.
She what?
No,
I think
she
she
doesn't
pillows
pillow Jody.
No. So, it was very sad.
It was
Ed-
very sad. And for them to have her go in, because the first time we see her go in and sit with him, the blinds stay open and she's sitting with him and she's waiting and hoping. But we know now she goes in, she closes the blinds, and we can hear her sobbing behind the door. We know there's no hope.
I guess signifying
Anymore.
acceptance here for
Yeah.
her and everything, and the
Very,
the
very
realization of
sad.
this. Ed comes back into Jamestown. He's getting off his suit, and eventually he hears something on the comm. He starts working his way over, and he sees it's Karen who's on the screen. And he's like, "Hey, Karen, I've just been smashing."
He's like,
up a-"
this isn't a scheduled call. Well, what the fuck happened?
Right, and she goes, "It's Shane, and we don't get to really hear the whole conversation. It's kind of just more
No,
emotional.
it jumps back and forth. Yeah.
But he
yeah.
know like
His reaction, his facial reaction is just like horror.
If he knows from the message before, he's putting it together.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
put it together now.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought her performance here on the other side of the camera, I thought it was like one of the most real performances. Like it was very well done. Like I
Very
was,
well done.
you know, because like a lot of times it's easy just to like scream for these actors or like go into hysterics, but I thought she played it perfectly. Like it was very real.
Yeah,
Like,
it didn't feel like it was overdone. It felt like it was appropriate for what the situation was. Yeah.
yeah, it felt real
I
for
agree.
her. The way she would have tried to tell him, I think everything was like, that's what made it sad because it felt real. Like, you know,
Yeah, like she can't even get the words out.
Yeah.
Like it's yeah.
And
then-
he just looks abject horror and just haunted.
Yeah, well, as a parent myself, this is the one thing that you never want to happen to you in your life. You know, just lose a child. You don't even want your child to outlive you, and so yeah, like this is. I haven't experienced that, luckily, but it's just this unimaginable.
And compounded by the fact that he's 200,000 miles away and there's no way to come home.
There's no way to come home. He can't hug his wife right now. There's none of that, right? You know, he can't even hug another human being unless he finds a cosmonaut, I guess. So, but they might not.
Hey, they seem up for it.
They seem up for it, yeah.
And
They
they
seem
did some
friendly.
nice facts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, so then Tracy brings Karen home. We're reminded it's Christmas. We see the Christmas lights, the Christmas wreath. Karen can't find her keys as she's, at the door here, and she starts to break down. And Tracy consoles her, tries to help her as best she can when they finally go in. And then, Karen doesn't take too long to go back into, what Karen does. Karen mode, where she's looking for the legal standings for where Shane can be buried, because Ed wants to put Shane into Arlington Cemetery, but because Ed is only a captain and not a flag officer, that wouldn't be allowed. And so they're trying to figure out if there's special dispensations, and Tracy trying to calm Karen down and say, you don't have to do that right this second, you can take a minute here. And this is where Karen's like, if you need to cry, Tracy, you can go into another room and do it, but I need to focus on this. This is what I have to do. And, Karen has already cried, and Karen this is what.
Well, I mean, where we were just talking about how Ed manages his emotions by channeling them into anger. Karen, rather than dealing with hers, is choosing to jump right into planning and tasks and order and getting things together,
Exactly. And so Tracy's like, okay, fine. I'll help you with this. I'll help you figure out this military business and the funeral arrangements. So we leave them there, back on the moon. Gordo's trying to get a hold of Ed to try to talk to Ed, but Ed just ends up shutting down all the monitors. He's got his bottle of scotch, and he's just going, like you said earlier, Heather, how he was, when he was in Korea, they gave him a bottle of whiskey and told him to sort his mind out. And I guess that's
get his head right.
I guess that's what he's trying to do. I don't think it's going to work.
He is drinking an entire bottle of Chivas and banging his head against the metal station. So if that doesn't get your head right, what does?
What doctor wouldn't prescribe this? So it's
in the
Dr.
70s.
Weddle.
In the 70s, 4 out of 5.
Right. They're like, can you smoke a few packs of cigarettes too?
Yeah, that's right. You're missing your camels.
Right. But,
you try banging your head across, against the cabinet. I've heard it helps.
Yeah. And also knowing that Ed had all this guilt around being sort of not the best father, and, knowing he needed to do better, and, that all that's over now. He doesn't get to make any of that up. He doesn't get to correct any of that. It's done, with his.
No. And the last thing he said to his son was, be a man, you baby, basically, right. To his
disgraced the whole family.
Child.
Yeah.
You've disgraced the whole family. You're a mess. I'm very disappointed in you. Goodbye.
Not only that, but the front end damage to the guy that hit him too. Like that's a problem.
Karen will take care of that.
Right. Anyway, that is the end of the episode. Sorry, it took us a while to get through it all, but it's pretty heavy, this one.
That's sad.
Yeah. Well, Adam, you've waited a long time.
So there's not a lot of fun facts, but I'm going to. This is a sad fact. I'll just cover a couple of things here on some things that were called out. Some errors on the continuity and just uniforms. When Margot is doing that meeting with Deke, Buzz, and who else was in that meeting?
Wisner.
Wisner was there, and Margot.
Yeah, so he's in a flight suit with the name patch showing in naval aviator wings. Well, in fact, Deke was in the Air Force.
Ah.
Oh, it's not the Navy. Okay.
Yeah.
So costuming error.
There was a, you know how NASA is famous for contingencies. Like if this happens, we will do this. If this happens, we'll do that. And they found that people found it very difficult to understand is how do they have a contingency when something happens just like this, when there's a disaster on Earth for a family member of somebody up in space or on the station. What do you do? And they don't seem to have something in place. And when you consider that, during particularly this time, you had agents all over the world working for the CIA that were embedded, and something happens with one of their family members. What do you do? So something had to have, there had to be a procedure in place, and they don't address that.
Right. It seems like they're just winging it throughout the episode.
Yeah. Somebody called out that they actually had LED lights on the Christmas tree and the house. We didn't have those in the 70s.
They didn't know yet about LEDs.
No, we did not.
No, they had the real flammable kind.
Exactly.
Yeah. Tubes.
The ones that would singe to the actual fake tree. Yeah.
Legit. I look at my childhood Christmas photos and am surprised that we didn't all die a fiery death.
Or tinsel. Like how much tinsel we had.
Ah, tinsel.
So much tinsel.
The bane of every cat owner in the world.
Yes.
Nothing says festive like your cat passing some spray. That.
Some sharp metal pieces.
Yeah. They used the name Dr. Weddle. Actually, David Weddle was a writer-producer on the show.
And from Deep Space Nine. Yeah.
Gave him an homage there.
Right.
And that pretty much wraps it up. There's just not a lot going on here, guys.
Sad facts with Saddam.
Yes.
Well, it's
Saddam.
I'm
going to call you that now, Adam.
Saddam.
Only for sad episodes.
Yeah.
Well, I was reading about how psychiatric care was regarded in the early 70s too. And it's kind of funny because we just came off the Bob Newhart episode, right? And he was actually a psychiatrist on that show.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And that was like a big joke, and he shared all his patient secrets with his friends and all that stuff. But in fact, it was not regarded very well, or you're weak. See, how come you're talking to a man? You're a psychiatrist before you're talking to me. Like it's a very different time.
Well, and yeah, obviously, going to all that, and then Scientology hasn't really come along yet to go anti-psychiatry.
Yeah, but even, the space program is so young, you don't even know what the mental effects are on people, and
true,
they're just all dealing with all this new stuff right now. So
there's no effects. You just drink a bottle of scotch and hit your head a couple times. It's fun.
When I was in Los Angeles, I just was walking along the street. I go into this thing, it says the American Museum of Psychiatry. I go, that's interesting. They would have a museum. And I get in there, and then it's like, going through the tour, and it's like this, it's like the dungeon of evil. And it's like talking about psychiatry and how they will do all these horrible things. And at the end, they're like, you want to join the Church of Scientology? Was like the pitch.
Hell no, gotcha.
Only you would run through that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know yet. It was the 2011. I guess I should have known. But anyway, let's get into our ratings. Okay, Jeff, we're gonna need to catch up with you on a couple scores, including Home Again and Hi Bob.
I don't know, do an 8, and then do a I don't know, like a 7.5 is good.
Okay. And how about this episode, Rupture?
This episode was pretty heavy. I was impressed. I'll go 9.5.
Wow. Okay, Jeff going 9.5.
No.
Heather.
I am going to give this episode a 9.
A 9.
The performances were fantastic, and we got some cute fashion. And I got to wear this, so 9.
It would have been
Everyone
a 10
won.
had it not have been for the Aleda scenes.
Oh, this Aleda stuff. What is it going to matter?
Jody hated us so much.
I don't get the point. What am
Yeah,
I
what is-
getting out of this?
It's an investment, Jeff.
Some slow bird.
It's a very slow bird. Okay, Kevin, you.
9.5.
9.5. Okay. I'll go 9 on this. Just, super strong performances, good writing, but, I think I'm ready for like the story to move a little faster as well, as Adam was saying. So it could room for improvement. Adam, you're up next.
7.
Okay.
Oh, lowest rating yet. Adam
yeah.
does not like to be sad.
I'm going 8.
Sad Adam. 8
I'll
from
do an
Jody.
8.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll do an 8. Even I'm with Adam on a lot of his points, though. This is starting to lose interest, and I need some more action.
Let's get
And
back
all of
into it. Okay. Well,
Yeah. Too much drama going on.
too much sad. Okay. Well, we're averaging 8.7. So pretty strong. This is our highest rating since Into the Abyss. Although be slightly. So let's have a look at our next episode. It is called Bent Bird. And in this one, let's see what happens here. A crisis in space puts Apollo 24 and 25 crews in peril.
A crisis in space, y'all. No more
Yay.
hospitals. No more dead children.
No,
Well,
they're still dead.
They're still
You had-
dead.
You had me at in space and not in a hospital, but then you said no dead children, so it might not be that fun.
Oh,
Boo.
Oh,
Don't worry,
they're gonna
Jody,
find a
he's
way-
still-
They're going to find a way to blame Ellen. This is going to be great.
yes.
He's still
Oh,
dead,
definitely.
Jody. Don't worry about it.
Oh, good.
Whatever the
Uh,
crisis is going to be, it's definitely women's fault.
Yeah.
And if I recall correctly, I think
Obviously.
this next episode deals with the Soviets a bit more, the ones on the moon specifically. So we're going to see more. of
Sending
that.
faxes and getting their mystery communication machines.
And Baldwin be like,
pickaxed
"I'll
to
show
death."
you a fax." Here it comes.
Yeah, screw your dot matrix printer.
Yeah, we don't like that. All right. Well, so I think that wraps up our review for tonight. Thanks to the whole team here. Always a pleasure. Make sure to check out on Thursdays. We like to do reviews of Star Trek: The Next Generation. I will not be on this Thursday. Jaemeel Robinson will be guest hosting for Up the Long Ladder. When Riker met a bunch of Irish people along with O'Brien and some clones that he might vaporize. Who knows?
The
So-
fashion and the cringe. I cannot wait for this episode.
Yeah.
I love
Not
it.
to mention the completely wool dresses.
Yes.
Cozy. Space
Yeah.
cozy.
She does look great in
And
that episode. Whoever
raw.
plays that woman.
Oh yeah, the woman looks fantastic in that episode for sure.
We got Heather and Jody and is it Adam on?
Adam.
No, I'm the backup. I'm backup.
Your backup. I think maybe it's Justin. I think who's on with you this week. So tune in for that on Thursday. I'll be on a special podcast on Hey, Did You See This One with our friends in the United Federation of Podcast, Jason and Steven, as I am going to be reviewing the movie Jumanji from 1995 with them that night. So
Yeah, I'm going to be on. Did you see? What was it? The 3-hour one, whatever the 3-hour one is.
Oh, hold up! You're going on hold up.
Hold up! I'm on hold up for the next one. Yeah.
Oh boy.
What do you got going on over there?
If you give me a second, I'll look up the chat because I don't remember, but I know it's animated movies.
Animated movies. Oh, Murphy takes those very seriously. So
Murphy's
Okay,
got
well, I hope they don't
production.
make you watch Hobo with a Shotgun because you won't get through it.
No, it's not. It's Heavy Metal, Fern Gully, and Paprika, which I
Heavy Metal, the original.
Yeah.
1979, right?
Yeah.
Mm-mm. Just
That's
watch
fun.
the South Park episode about it called Major Boobage and save yourself hours.
That's such a good episode.
All right.
I've seen heavy metal a bunch of times, so I'm fine.
And yesterday we just did a trivial debates on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. We had a real fun panel. Yeah, we had Michelle from Cowabunga Corner on. We had Sean. I forget his name of his podcast, but he was great too. And we had Justin from Live Long over there. So it was amazing. It was really fun talking to all turtles. You know, if you're a millennial, you know it might resonate more. So these Gen Xers all rolling their eyes. Okay,
No.
let's move on.
I have the original comic.
Okay, well, you're okay, Jody. All right. Not Adam, though. He doesn't know. And
I
my
don't
wife
care.
doesn't know. She doesn't care either. She's early 70s, and she doesn't care. I care. So it's Ninja Turtles. It's great. Anyway, we're signing off for tonight, and we'll see you next time for Bent Bird. Live long and podcast, everyone. Take care.
Beam up some Star Trek content with Live Long and Podcast. Tune in to X-Rated, the X-Men animated review show. Artistic interviews with graphic histories. A roundtable movie discussion with Hey, did you see this one? And movie reviews with Hold Up, a movie podcast. And while you're at it, spin a few records with Eamon on Track. Watch us duke it out on trivial debates. And let's chat about TV with the Super Mater Brothers. It's all here on the United Federation of Podcasts.